Megaman and Bass. Or Bass? I think Bass? Megaman and That Other Guy was a side game of the original Mega Man series released in Japan for the Super Famicom in 1998. Yes, the Super Nintendo basically years after it gave way to the next generation. Because of this, we didn't see this title in North America until 2003 on the Game Boy Advance. Although I thought this game was pretty outstanding as a kid, I don't really think it stands out from other titles in the series, aside from having another playable character, but I really do still think it's a quality Mega Man adventure that feels on par with other games in the series. The plot of the game is ridiculously simple and pretty nonsensical, which is fine for a Mega Man game. Basically, you have to choose between Mega Man and Bass, as both try to destroy some new robot menace named King, which might have been the basis for the card deck theme in Star Force 3, but who knows. Anywho, you get to play the game as Mega Man, which is the classic way of getting through it. Or you can play the game as Bass, who has 8 directional fire and a somewhat different moveset. Playing as both characters adds replay value to a relatively short game, where you do the usual 8 robot master dealio before the final bosses. The level design in this game isn't terribly inspired though, with stages that are somewhat memorable but not too creative. You've seen most of this stuff before, like the disappearing blocks and mini bosses and such. But there are interesting things, like Groundman stages, where there's like these totems and you can shoot them and destroy them, and that kind of raises the floor, which should kill you instantly. It's pretty cool. Overall though, I think there's one thing that most people will agree on, and that's that these stages are kind of tough. I especially hated Tengu Man stage. What the hell's a Tengu anyway? Pirate Man was also pretty cool, and did you know he's actually invincible if you're playing a pirated copy of the game? Okay, that's a lie, but wouldn't that be awesome? In terms of how Mega Man and Bass play in these levels, each character is different enough to be interesting, but similar enough so that neither feels way better than the other. Which is good because, if you haven't deduced it already, this game is pretty difficult. I'd say this game's difficulty is on par with earlier games in the series, except that some jumps in this game are really unforgiving, like you have to be right at the edge. And there's other issues like Dynamo Man, this guy who friggin' heals himself before you kill him, which is terrible, and those disappearing blocks, which are things you will find in the 9th Circle of Hell. Seriously, they suck. On top of that, the bosses have weaknesses, but unlike many other games in the series, the special effects of these weapons is pretty limited, which I thought was reasonable. In other Mega Man games, having the right weapon made the bosses basically too easy, like an automatic win. But in this title, it feels more balanced, because you have a special weapon that will give you an advantage, but it isn't an automatic win in any way. The bosses actually act pretty unpredictably as well, so you really have to be on your toes to see this one through to the end. Despite all I've been griping about with the game's difficulty curve, it's far more fair to the players in my opinion, and this is for one reason, because there's a shop in the game where you can buy a lot of upgrades to make your quest easier, including extra lives, more firepower, better armor, and more. Thank God for this shop, because it really balances out the game for me, because although the difficulty is up, the game also gives you the means to power yourself up, so I can't really complain about how hard this game is, or how much I just suck, I don't know. The graphics in this game are on par for the Game Boy Advance, pretty much just as good as the Super Nintendo's version, very colorful and detailed. The boss designs, though classic, weren't particularly creative, aside from maybe Magic and Tengu Man. However, it's all still good on the visual side. The music in the game is actually really good too, just what you'd expect from a Mega Man game. You may not find yourself humming these tunes or saying, "Oh my god, this is the best Mega Man soundtrack since Mega Man 2", but all the songs are well suited to the stage, they're catchy and varied. I especially like Tengu Man's and Pirate Man's themes. In conclusion, Mega Man and Bass was a game I really enjoyed when I was younger, and I'm happy to say that I still enjoy it today. It's nice to have something closer to the original Mega Man on the Game Boy Advance after the Battle Network and Zero series deviated from the norm. But if you've played the original Mega Man stuff, then you won't get that much different here, but people do still play these games for the tried and true Mega Man formula. It's not a particularly fresh game, but I still recommend you give this one a shot if you're looking for a game outside the main series, just like the originals. I wouldn't say it's one of the best games in the series, but definitely a quality one nevertheless. Check it out. Thanks for watching.